Imagine a spacecraft the size of a car, drifting alone in the abyss, 14.5 billion miles from home, carrying not just human technology but also a heartbeat, a voice. For almost 50 years, Voyager 1 has traveled through space, whispering secrets from the edge of our known universe. He was created for observation, but not for action, to listen, but not to speak. And yet, just a few weeks ago, something changed. Signals began to arrive that made no sense. Impulses with incredible precision, patterns nested within patterns, devices activated without command. And then came the drift. The Voyager was no longer just moving. It was being directed towards something difficult to explain, something invisible to all our telescopes. But it was real enough to change the trajectory of the car launched in 1977. Was it a glitch? An accident? Or was something in the darkness between the stars responding? What you will see is not science fiction. These are NASA's own data, carefully hidden in classified reports, now leaking into the public domain. Because the Voyager could do what no probe in history could achieve. Perhaps it found the answer, not from Earth, not from us, but from them. The journey of Voyager 1 began with a rare cosmic alignment, an event that occurs only once every 175 years. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune lined up like stones along a path through the solar system, and NASA seized the opportunity to build two spacecraft. Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 were able to use the gravity of each planet as a catapult to the next. Engineering marvels of the 70s, these probes were built with less computing power than digital watches, yet with such foresight that they continue to operate. After thrilling encounters with Jupiter and Saturn, Voyager 1 headed north, leaving the plane of the solar system and soaring toward the stars. Its planetary mission was over, but its legacy was just beginning. For decades, he continued his silent journey, advancing 1,000,000 miles a day into the cosmic darkness. He transmitted data from regions untouched by human feet, from the edge of the heliosphere, through the shock of cessation, and finally, in the year 2012, to the threshold of interstellar space. But there, beyond the sun's protective bubble, the environment was far from empty. The Voyager recorded a denser plasma, unchanging magnetic fields, and strange oscillations that scientists could barely explain. The deeper it went, the stranger the data became. And then something changed. At the end of 2017, the Voyager control team at NASA noticed something alarming. Its antenna, which should have been pointed at Earth, reported a discrepancy, but the signal strength was perfect. It was as if a spacecraft was out of position yet precisely fixed on us, like hearing someone's voice from behind a wall while watching that someone stands silently in front of you. Internal checks revealed no issues, and wave patterns appeared, rhythmic oscillations of plasma that did not fade, disperse, or resemble anything we had ever seen. And then the temperature spikes began. Every 4.8 hours, the external systems of Voyager heated up by almost 30 degrees and then cooled down again, like clockwork, like breathing. Energy was not coming from within. Something external was affecting the probe. And what was worse, despite the stress, the Voyager systems began to operate more efficiently. This was not degeneration. It was optimization. Something modified the way the 70s machine processed energy, redirecting it like modern artificial intelligence. But the Voyager has no artificial intelligence. It has no autonomy. Yet it anticipated commands, reacting before instructions were sent. Either it became something more, or something outside took control. By the beginning of 2025, the position of Voyager 1 had changed, not sharply, but noticeably. First by a few kilometers, then hundreds, then thousands. The deviation was not chaotic, it was intentional, measured, as if someone was pushing the Voyager, deliberately leading it somewhere. Engineers at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory were trying to correct its course. They sent counter commands, activated the engines. The Voyager acknowledged the instructions but did not change direction. It seemed that something was overriding NASA's commands. Like a ship changing course against the wind, the Voyager slowly and methodically adjusted its movements. In the direction it was heading, there was an area of space 4.3 light-years away from us. There was nothing known there. No stars, no planets, just an empty spot on our deepest maps. But Voyager was heading towards it with precision, as if answering a call. When NASA sent a team to reactivate the long-dormant camera of Voyager, a desperate attempt to see what lay ahead, they expected silence. What they received became an answer. The camera turned on, not just turning on, but working better than its specifications suggested. And instead of sending a photograph, it sent a spiral. Not a random swirl, but a mathematically perfect pattern, layered, concentric, filled with information, an imprint, a map, a message. This image was not just strange. It was impossible for the Voyager hardware of the 70s. The system was not merely rebooted. It was reprogrammed. One by one, the other long-dormant tools followed her, and none of them behaved as they once did. Instead of raw data, they sent compressed, structured packets, patterns within patterns, information that seemed optimized by something smarter than Voyager, something else. And then the time came. Pulses from distant pulsars formed a three-dimensional network with Voyager at the center. The map they created pointed to the same point where the Voyager was heading, an invisible knot in interstellar space, an empty region, or perhaps a door. As Voyager 1 approached an unexplored sector of space, its instruments began to behave in ways never documented before. The magnetometer recorded not fluctuations, but stability. A zone of strange calm in an otherwise turbulent universe. Cosmic rays diminished, plasma density normalized. It seemed that the Voyager had crossed into a pocket of space where chaos had paused, as if someone had cleared the way ahead. This silence was not soothing. It was surgical, like the prelude to something grand. This region, referred to in mission reports as the Dark Sector, represents an interstellar blind zone, a place devoid of the electromagnetic noise that fills the rest of space. It seemed that Voyager had entered a vacuum of observation, an area where external data did not pass through and light did not return. But inside this emptiness, the signal received by the Voyager grew stronger, more structured. These were not random bursts or cosmic static interference. They were impulses, precise, temporal, and spatially layered. Something was there, neither emitting radiation nor reflecting light, but sending messages. In one of the strangest transmissions ever received from an interstellar probe, Voyager's low-sensitivity antenna transmitted a packet of raw binary code, thousands of lines. Initially dismissed as a glitch or interference from cosmic rays, the signal was sent to AI algorithms for decoding, revealing something astonishing: embedded fractal symmetry, a base 4 sequence, and recurring motifs reflecting the structure of the DNA double helix. The scientists were paralyzed. Either the Voyager was breaking down in the most organized disaster ever seen, or something was using it to transmit a message in the language of biology. There were sequences of codons, but no protein output. The templates resembled organic chains, but contained errors that made sense as intentional mutations. It was not broken. It was encrypted. It was not DNA, but meta-DNA. The framework of something biological, reinterpreted as a message, as if its sender knew how life was structured, or how we are made. Immediately after the signal with the DNA code, the gyroscopes of Voyager began to spin independently. The movement was not random. It corresponded to the rhythms of Morse code, a dead system tapping messages into space. And, more disturbingly, these patterns, when converted to audio, formed harmonious tones and frequencies reflecting the rhythms of human speech, but without phonemes or language. It felt like hearing the ghost of communication, something trying to adapt to us, syllable by syllable. Psychologists, cryptographers, even linguists were drawn in. What they discovered was terrifying. The tones correlated with emotional accents, rises and falls corresponding to surprise, fear, and curiosity. It did not speak words. It expressed intent, as if something had been teaching our rhythms, listening to us for decades, and now trying to respond. Then came the final shock. Voyager 1 changed course. It was not a drift, not an anomaly, but a controlled, purposeful arc. A turn not back to Earth, nor to a star, but into a region with no known mass, no gravitational pull, no celestial body to explain this change. Engineers confirmed this. The Voyager 1 probe executed a maneuver for which it was not programmed, without active thrust, and without receiving a command. The turn was not accidental. It coincided with the pulsar grid obtained a few days earlier, with an exact angle to the tenths, as if the Voyager had received the coordinates and agreed with them. Now he found himself on a path in a spatial corridor, the existence of which we did not know. A tear, a fold, a transit point. No one knows. But one fact now resonates in the Mission Control Center like a forgotten prophecy. Voyager 1 turned not because we told it to, but because something else compelled it. Voyager 1 was never meant to survive this long. It was designed for flights to planets, not for interstellar pilgrimage. He was never supposed to transmit data beyond the solar wind, and certainly was not made to receive anything. He was meant to speak, to declare our existence to the stars with a golden disc inscribed with the sounds of whales, human laughter, and distant greetings. But now, decades after we last touched its body, after it vanished into emptiness and silence, it did what no one predicted. It turned, not due to a malfunction, but with purpose. The signals he recorded, the images he transmitted, Spiral codes and harmonic impulses, changes in trajectory, all point to one horrifyingly beautiful conclusion. Voyager 1 was not alone. It had never been. Something or someone was listening, waiting, watching, and now, when our most distant messenger has crossed the boundary between silence and response, we need to ask the question that no one at NASA has ever dared to speak aloud. What if we were never meant to look back? Because the Voyager turned not only in space, it turned in narrative, in history, from a tool to a messenger, from an observer to a witness, and perhaps now even to a participant. We sent it outward, hoping for an echo. Instead, we may have summoned a mirror. So what comes next? Where is the Voyager headed? What awaits at these impossible coordinates? And more importantly, what awaits us when it arrives? If this story sent a chill down your spine, if something in the twist of the Voyager seemed too precise, too timely, too human, stay with us. This is not the end of the broadcast, this is the first response. Subscribe now, because the next update from Voyager could change everything. Don't miss the signal when it arrives. Share this information with those who still believe that deep space is empty. Write in the comments. Do you think Voyager found or did something? Find it.